Robert Frost is, arguably, one of the most well-known American poets of all time. So, it's not surprising that his work is taught in high schools and colleges across the nation. Because he's so famous, chances are you have encountered his famous poem, The Road Not Taken. We're here to help you build a deeper understanding of the poem. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet. The Road Not Taken, written by Robert Frost, was originally published in 1915. So, here is the poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood. And looked down one, as far as I could. To where it bent, in the undergrowth. Once, the poet was walking down a road, and then there was a diversion. There were two different paths, and he had to choose one of them. As readers, we are meant to take the poem both as a literal story about someone in the woods trying to decide which way to go, as well as a metaphor about how our life choices are, like the divergent paths in the woods mentioned here. The poet says that, as he was one person, he could travel only on one road. So, he had to choose only one out of these two roads. Here, yellow wood means a forest with leaves which are wearing out and have turned yellow in color. The yellow leaves suggest that the poem is set in autumn season. The poet kept standing there and looked at the path very carefully as far as he could see it. Before taking the path, he wanted to know how it was. Was it suitable for him or not? He stands there for a long time, trying to see down one of the two paths, but the undergrowth blocks his view. He was able to see the path till from where it curved, after which it was covered with trees and was hidden. It happens in our life also. Here, Frost is emphasizing that when we have choices, we have alternatives, but we have to choose only one out of them. We take time to think about the pros and cons, analyze whether it is suitable for us or not, and only then we make a decision on what path we should choose. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having, perhaps, the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. In this second stanza, the poet finally makes a decision and chooses a road that he thinks and believes to be better, because it looked like not many people had walked on it before. The poet kept on looking at one path for a long time to check if it is the right path for him or not. And then he decided and started walking on another path because he felt that both the paths were equally good. Maybe he felt that the other path was better for him as it had grass on it, which means that it was unused. Not many people had walked on this path earlier. That is why this path was grassy. After he walked on the path for some distance, he realized that both the paths had been worn out the same way. Even in our life, we may choose any path or option, but all of them have the same benefits, disadvantages, problems, and challenges, and we must face them. This underlines the nature of people in general, that we always choose the path which seems attractive and is of interest to us, even if both paths have the equal potential of getting us to wherever we are headed. And both, that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. In the third stanza, it is mentioned that, at the moment the poet was making his decision, both paths were nearly identical. Both had leaves on them, and no one had stepped on them, as they were still green in color. He decided that he would take one path and keep the other path for another day. Then, he honestly tells himself that if he lets this road go now, there is no coming back. He knew that he could not go back on the choice that he had made. Similarly, even in our life, once we choose an option, we must keep on moving ahead with that option. We never get a chance to come back and take the other option that we had left earlier. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. In this last stanza, the poet says that, in the future, he will take a deep breath and say that, once upon a time, he had reached such a point in life that there were two options for him. And he chose the road that was less traveled by. That decision of his shaped his future. Similarly, in future, when you grow up, then you will say that once upon a time, when you were young, you had two options. The choices that you made have shaped your future. This is a very strong message for all the students that you should be wise and be careful while making choices out of the options that you have in your life. Because your future depends on the choice that you make today.